So my pride and joy, so my pride and joy has been picking up. So my pride and joy has been picking up these FD mount lenses, vintage FD mount lenses. So I've picked up a set of vintage FD mount lenses, and my pride and joy are these, and my and my pride and joy are the Canon ones specifically. So here we have a Canon. This is 28. Yeah, Canon 28 2.8. Super nice. Val, stop it, please. Calm down. Excuse me, you can go. You can go, come on. It's a bag. It's a bag, there's nothing in here. Okay, come on, girl. Come on. Come. So this Canon 85 1.8. The taller one here is a 135 3.5. And a 24mm 2.8. Very awesome little lens. This is probably the one we use the most. There's also a 50mm 1.4. All super nice little lenses. And I have two more that are of a different brand. This is 28. Very nice little lens. And this little Minolta. It's got a lot more wear and tear, but the optics on it are very nice. So it's one reason why I really like these Canons here, because even though they are vintage, they are just like in such immaculate shape. There's not even scratches on the outside of the body, let alone the inside. All of the elements, all the rings, they're just so perfectly clear, which is really awesome. So I can now show you the difference of the lenses. So here is the bigger of the So I can now show you the differences with the lenses. See, right here is the bigger of the vintage lenses. This is the 135. And you can see it's basically half the size. And it's actually, if I pick it up, it's most certainly half the weight. I'd say it's even a third the weight. And then here we go with the FD 50mm, which has a lot of glass in it. It does have some good weight. They're probably the same weight. But as you can see, the form factor is just so dramatically smaller. And again, this Comlight lens, and again this Comlight lens adapter, it's actually probably the same size as just a typical adapter, like a not smart adapter, one without electronics, but it's actually really well built and beefy, so it actually adds a fair bit. It's probably it probably is, I'd say, maybe almost half the weight of just this lens here. Maybe a third, probably more like a third. But to add it on top of this guy really makes for kind of a heavy setup. Now your lens is literally 3 times. This one is 3 times the weight of either of these. Which is why we wanted to explore the idea of using smaller lenses. And the vintage ones were a cool idea because they're cheap and really good quality. I also want to give an honorable mention to this. This is Sigma makes a line of Micro Four Thirds lenses, and this is the earlier version of a 19mm 2.8. And this is a very small and light lens, and it's well built. It feels like steel and really strong plastic. Like I said, there's a newer version out. I got this used for only $100, which is why I took it. We wanted to get this because of its focal length. So this is the 50. And as you can see, the form factor is basically the same. But I would say the 50 is probably, I'd say 25-30% heavier. It's actually just a beefier lens. And then we got this 24mm FD 2.8. And yeah, as you can see, they're all pretty similar in form factor. But the FD 28 is smaller than the 50, and it is lighter. These two are probably the same weight. But on a Micro Four Thirds, as you know, the focal length gets perceived as being doubled. So this 24 is a 48, and that's still pretty close to your subject. So that's why we're looking for something a bit wider. So when I found this for such a good price, I thought I'd pick it up. And I'll tell you, we have used this a couple times, and it's a super nice little lens. It's so tiny on the camera, and I have 0 complaints. People say this line of lenses from Sigma aren't the best, their autofocus aren't the best, but I'm using it for video, so that's not a big deal, and the autofocus for the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera isn't really why you buy that camera anyway. So let's talk adapters. We have So let's talk adapters. I bought this one on Amazon for, I think, less than $20. And why I kind of decided to make this video is because it doesn't work perfectly. It's a fine adapter, it's all metal, but I find some of the FD lenses that I've tried to use it for just tend to not lock in perfectly every time. And so the guy I bought those FD lenses from, he said that investing in a good adapter might be a good idea if I'm really serious about using those lenses for projects that I want to be really happy with. And so I took his advice. So I bought 3 other ones. First one here is the Photodiox Pro. So the first one here is the Photo Diox Pro. That one came to about $90. The next one here was the KF Concept. Yeah, that's right. And I believe that one was about, I think, so let me show you the new adapters I bought. The first one here is the Photo Diox Pro. That one came to about $90. So let me show you the new adapters I bought here. The first one is the Photo Diox Pro. That came to about $90. The next one here was the KF Concept. That one was $50. And then we have the Gobe here, which came to, I believe, $40. So these two being similar price range, this one is a Pro model, is twice as much. And I wanted to see if it's actually kind of worth it, because ideally I'd probably have a few of these adapters since I have a couple cameras and typically do more than one camera shoots. So let's do this. Let's unbox this pricier one first. So let's unbox this pricier one first. Okay, how do you get into this guy? Okay, I see. Okay, it's a little stubborn. You gotta be careful with these guys, especially since I might return them. Okay, so inside, pretty standard, just a box and the adapter. Looks pretty solid, fancy and blue. There's a little support piece, that's nice, with an Allen key. Oh, is it Allen key? Yeah, it is an Allen key, it looks like. Yeah, I don't know, feels pretty good. Photo Diox Pro, FD to micro four thirds. Next I'll do the Gobe. And use a trusty steak knife. Carefully get this. Okay, there we go. Come on, you. Open up. There we go. Beauty. Oh, this has a very rustic looking package. Look at that. It has a little fabric case. That's kind of classy. And inside, zero plastic. That's kind of cool. Yeah, I don't know, this one feels pretty awesome too. It's all metal. Rotates nicely. And then the last one here, the KF Concept. I actually like it comes in this little box. I've kept it just to put smaller things in because I have another one of their adapters for some other lens. Got bubble wrap. And yeah, again, this one feels pretty nice. Has a clicked lock ring. But yeah, feels really nice. They all seem to feel more substantial than the one I bought from Amazon originally. This one was $16, and it does just feel thinner. It feels like a hollower thing, and these all the other lenses feel beefier. So this is going to be the real test. I'm going to try mounting all of these together and to see if it's a smooth fit and there's no problems. I'll start with this one here. Well, this KF concept mount worked really well with all of them. Didn't have any hiccups, so let's try this Pro Photodiox Pro FD to micro four thirds now. One difference is like the ring is actually really smooth, and it actually has a little diagram on what the position means instead of it just saying, bring it closer. Instead of in the other mounts, they say lock or open, which is kind of misleading. This one actually just straight up has a picture of the aperture is open and the aperture is closed. Kind of interesting. Nice, smooth. These ones are clicky. Not that I think it's a big deal. The Photodiox also has a nice little spot, little dot, where it says install. So it suggests there's two little dots, while the other adapters just tend to have the one little dot. Oh, there's a little dot down here actually, but it's in line. Actually, it's in the same line. But this one has two little dots because it tells you where the adapter needs to go to the camera, but it also tells you where does the ring need to be during the installation. So when you install it needs to be here, which is kind of, I guess, a nice aid if maybe someone isn't familiar with the FD mount, which can be kind of tricky. So it's a So I just tried it with all lenses, and it's a really nice adapter. One thing I noticed, it feels like the hug on the lens, it's more snug on this photodiox adapter. So it's super tight. And actually, I had a real hard time getting it off this one here, because this is the lens that seems to be giving me the most, it seems to be the most finicky, the 135. And yeah, it's just such a snug fit. I mean, it's probably a good thing how snug it is, but it's such a snug fit. I was just having some trouble getting it off, but you know, I just tried it again for the second time and it was no problem. So small detail. Anyway, let's try this this Gobe now. I think this is the cheapest of them, of the three. So let's see how this performs. Yeah, so I would say that, strangely enough, even after putting, so yeah, I will say, is strangely enough, even after just kind of putting all these adapters on all these lenses over and over, for some strange reason, I had the most trouble with this one here, this Gobe. It's very subtle. It worked really well on all of them, but I don't know. It just seemed to be the most finicky for some strange reason. Yeah. I really don't know. It's really nitpicky, I guess, just to kind of knock something for that. But you know, in terms of weight, I would say, um, yeah. So in terms of weight, I would say that um, the KF is the heaviest, even heavier than this with this bottom piece. It's actually maybe the same weight or a little bit heavier, and these two are probably the same weight. This is the Gobe, and then this is obviously the photodiox. But the photodiox has this guy, so you could even take this little piece off and make it even lighter, which which is a huge plus because that's why I'm doing this, right? Is to get a lighter camera setup. So that's just a thing to remember. The real thing. So I wanted to just say one more thing on this honorable mention. So I did want to say just one more thing on this honorable mention, which is the Sigma 19mm, is that because it's made for micro four thirds, has a micro four thirds mount, that it doesn't need an adapter. So it being basically the same weight as the 24 FD mount is no longer the case when you have an adapter on it. So you can see it does get quite a bit difference in size. Not quite a bit difference, but it definitely does get a difference in size. This FD filter, or adapter I mean, is also the lighter of the bunch. And I would say, yeah, the lens is now, this lens is pretty light. It's pretty, gosh, I don't know, I can't really describe how it might be a pound, might be. And this guy here is, I'd say if this is a pound, I'd say maybe this is 2 pounds. I'm gonna get a scale and just test it out. So I thought I'd give you guys a look. Shit. So I thought I'd give you guys a look with an actual scale. This is my scale for making bread. So it's in grams. This is the Sigma. 167. And this is the 24. Ooh, with the adapter. 435. Now that might seem like a lot, like a big difference, but it's really not. Like, this is still very light for a lens. And then we'll see without the adapter. Yeah, so it's a good jump down at 345. Still, I'd say, I guess, technically twice as much as the Sigma. The Sigma is kind of a little beast, which is pretty cool. And since we're weighing these, why not weigh them all, right? I mean, we're here. So let's take a look here. So we already had the photodiox, I think is pretty light. So that one comes at 90 grams. And then we'll have this is the gobe. Yep, pretty close. 83. And then we'll have, what is this guy here? This is the K&F. Yeah, so they're actually all around the same. I don't know why I thought one was different. That was in my head. So after that test, you may think, well, why, if I wanted a lighter lens, why not just buy a whole bunch of these Sigmas, because they are super light, and they're obviously really light from that test. They're half the weight, And Sigma makes a whole set of them. They make a 19, I think they make a 40 and a 60 as well, somewhere along that. So why not have just gotten those? Well, the main reason is that this glass here, this FD, they actually have got a lot of color and character to them, which is just cool and nice. So I think just with personality, I think they are a nicer lens. They're both really sharp lenses. Like I say, this one has, I got no complaints over it. Um, yeah, just I like the idea of having a little more color, especially since I'm kind of going for the Black Magic cinema shooting style. I want to do more kind of cinema work, so to have a lens with a little bit more personality is just kind of appealing to me. And the other reason is that this lens was, I bought a whole set of them, but they tend to go for around $150 to $200 used. And then these lenses here, brand new, tend to go for around 300 to 400. And since you typically buy them from a store, there's tax too, so it's probably closer to 400. So I guess the main reason why is because I did want to buy a set of lenses, but I didn't want to pay to buy a whole new set of lenses. So if I had bought 3 of these primes, it would have racked up to well over $1,000, while I bought 5 of these primes and it came to only $500 because I found like a good deal and someone sold a whole set. So that's probably like the big reason why, and I'm really happy with it. So the only addition I'd probably do is just to get a probably like a 12 millimeter lens for the kit. And yeah, so relatively speaking, like even though this is a lighter choice, these are still very compact and very light lenses compared to this beast I showed you guys earlier, right? And this adapter right here, the smart adapter, which these smart lenses need if you want to be able to use the aperture while like in the middle of your filming day, which this adapter here was certainly way heavier than like these photo diox and the other ones we've just tested. It's definitely much heavier. It has electronics in it and such. So even though the FDs are heavier, I'd say like they're still really light. So totally happy with that.